Here it is, Ghosts, my latest poetry collection. Hot off the press, and as you can see from the cover, it presents these ghostly figures in a bombed out landscape. Why is this? It's because Ghosts tells the story of 55 characters living and wandering around in the streets of the East End of London just after the Second World War. 55 poems, each a brief slice of life as lived back then. I'll be reading some examples to you over the coming weeks, but for now, I'm John Hudson. You can see more about me on www.johnhudson.info. Billy Ringer. Billy died at 44, his mum in tears upon the floor. Little Billy had fair hair, a crooked nose and awkward stare. Cancer ate his smoker's lung, spread up to young Billy's tongue. He was the last of 7 kids, dead before mum closed her lids. Charlie, Ethel, Teddy, May, each enjoyed a shorter stay, and Fred and Bert died in the war, so 7-0 the final score. But Billy, standing short and broad, was the last one to be called. Mum thought he was a special one, her only living, swearing son, who'd see her out and kiss her head when she lay stony cold in bed. But Mum survived to watch him burn, the 7th child to leave in turn. Little Billy looked like Bill, who christened his kids and then fell ill. Cancer ate his smoker's lung. At 44, his song was sung. On the run. Keeps a fiver up his Khyber. Comes in handy when his jailer takes the candy. They say a jack's a lot of dosh. The law love cash. He could stash it someplace nicer. He's out the door, but not before he turns and sniffs. Blue-Eyed Jane. Blue-Eyed Jane stood out, not in a looker kind of way, but more sore thumb. Rumour said a Dutchman was involved, what with Arthur called up and Pat so flighty. At school, Jane swelled like a Yorkshire pud. She gave up swimming galas and was always at the docks till neighbours whispered, "Poor girl," and wondered, was it a virus or cake? She left the school before exams and grew desperate for a bloke. Sure enough, a bloke appeared. She was unlucky or a mug. Got black-eyed on her wedding night. Became a monster. Men are like that. Her son left home to find his dad. Alone, Jane gave up slimming classes, gorged on ice cream and chocks. She began to smell, then moonlighted to Lincoln, never told a soul. She had a small flat and slept a lot, swapped her chair for large settee, so Fred the travelling salesman said. That was the last was heard. She stopped sending birthday cards, had the phone cut off, stayed indoors. People still recall her bold blue eyes, but nothing else, hardly her name. Odds are she died unhappy. Blue-Eyed Jane, who stood out. The answers. That blein' Dant, says Stan, he had the answers. And he stares out the window as if answers might walk by. Blein' Dant, he tells his boy, is a wop who gets himself in bother and goes on a long journey into a dive thick with queers and thieves. Despite the dodgy cons he encounters, Dant comes good in the end, 'cause he meets this bird who sees he's all right. And with that, Stan offers the greatest gift he'll give his son. Hell. Only Volume 1. The journey for answers has begun. Lady Luck. He never buys me roses, never takes me to a show. He loves 3 things, my Joe: smoking, drinking, gambling. It's the only things he knows. He kisses me on Fridays through reek of fags and booze, gives wages to me Mondays if his horses didn't lose, and that's the way with Joe. Blokes are cut from sackcloth, so there's no changing Joe, but he keeps his fists for bar fights, has no floozies on the go. That's why I love my Joe. Lonely. Bill prefers to drink alone, primed with a viper's tongue. He spits his poison. With you? You're ugly. Or, yes, I mind. Sod off. He recounts tales of nasty one-liners to his wife, who has to listen. 'Cause I felt like it, he'd reply. Why shouldn't I say what I think? Cronies wise up, but kids and strays keep Bill sweetly sour. I'll die a lonely man, he says. I think I'm going funny in the head. At which Bill laughs aloud, happy to get one over on himself. Demolition boys. Many your ghostly landmarks, you gang of wrecking brothers, fags on lips and dusty nits, riding up your broken backs. You'll never draw a pension, but swell the vaults of Lloyd's, give them ground to rise up high as you're erased from A to Z. Look lost in steel and concrete, among cars you can't afford, splutter, cough, drink whiskey neat, until last orders are called. Pat Dwyer has a noble head of midnight hair and a hand in the bookies on the mile. He helps out Saturdays all midweek with eyes of blue and a butter smile. At falls he jeers, his bulbous head of hissing snakes coiled tightly black. He curses with a banshee wail as kids run off and daren't look back. Of a fortune won and lost he says, I've only my bloody full self to blame. He takes to reading books in bed. No fancy woman can keep him sane. And then one day, Pat Dwyer's gone. He counts his change, quits his flat, his wristwatch stops just like that. The years, though few, were kind to Pat. Hard to swallow. Don't chew Weetabix, they turn saliva to glue. You wait in a fix, hope the dole comes through. His money he'll gamble or blow down the pub. Dry Weetabix is tough to chew, it turns saliva to glue. He throws you 2 bob, you're off to the offie, Cadbury's for John and Sue. The shops are all shut, so what can you do? That last dry Weetabix was hard to chew, harder to swallow, saliva like glue. Anything's better, it's true, but Cadbury's and Coke is worse than a joke. Time to change bloke. Weetabix is hard to chew. Bunny's limit. Stood all day behind a grill, little Bunny, twitchy pal. Take their money, boss would say, phone me if there's trouble. Barney comes, shutters down, boss at work with paper pen, dirt and soot from grubby grate, tiller signs, just like the paint. Bunny, white as fivers fake before the fraud squad, opens up. In walks Stan, the winning man. Hello, Stan, your lucky day. Bunny counts. And a ton. More like 2 grand, grinned Stan. How right you are, but can't you read? Fingers rising to the limit. Stanley scowls at grubby signage taped by blower on the wall. An extra pony, keep you sweet. Bunny gulps and bottles. Stan smells a rat, leans darkly in. Bunny's never seen again. Down a burrow Bunny ran, boss jokes to drinking buddy Stan. Ghosts. Postman Ron, have you got your trousers on? Rowman Pat forgot to wear his rowman's hat. Fireman Pete, where are the shoes upon your feet? Butcher Jack, you've lost the shirt from off your back. Salesman Fred awoke to scratch his broken head. Tailor Tom, your sleeves were shortened by a bomb. Milkman Bert, where's your rattling dairy cart? Topman Stan fell fast asleep inside his van. Grocer Bill, lost 8 fingers in the till. Gasman Ted, sniffed the air and dropped down dead. Ghosts.